Good morning. Good morning. If I can please call the meeting to order. Doug, if we can do the public speakers first, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Our first speaker is Eric Josephson, followed by Paul Piazza, and then Matthew Shotkin. Please step up to the podium. 2 minutes per speaker, please. Agenda items only.
My name is Eric Josephson. I am a track worker for the New York City Transit Authority, a member of TWU Local 100. I'm speaking on behalf of Revolutionary Transit Worker, which presents the views of the League for the Revolutionary Party and the Transit Workers Union. Let me just say that as this meeting is going on, 2 workers in 3 lines in London are now on strike or about to go on strike. Some say that Mr. Walder got chased out of London by workers' strikes, of which there were many when he was there, and that he was told that we're a bunch of patsies here in New York, he can roll all over us. I believe that the working class will have some surprises in store for Mr. Walder and all others who would attack us. And it is an attack on all workers, not just on those directly employed by the Transit Authority. Nowhere is it clearer than in New York that an attack on public sector workers is an attack on the whole working class, with layoffs and cuts in service. Workers in other countries, such as Britain, are showing us how we will have to fight back against these attacks on wages and services. They wage strikes, even general strikes. They face some of the same problems. That is to say, the $800 million deficit cited by the TA is money that will go to a handful of individuals, bankers for the most part, none of whom have been shown to do anything for the working class. We should repudiate that debt, and I would ask something I've asked before: who is getting the debt payments from the Transit Authority? If these are worthy individuals, name them. Let the workers see who is getting the money that we worked, in the case of track workers like myself, other transit workers, risk our lives.
Our next speaker is Paul Piazza, followed by Matthew Shotkin and Marty Goodman.
Good morning. My name is Paul Piazza. I'm a station agent and a TW representative. This is basically a detailed summary of one day in the subway system. Just like to read a little bit from it. I'll try not to take too much time. It's pretty easy with this clock ticking off in front of you. But 3rd Avenue on the L train. Station agent reports unknown female fell on stairway, P1, removed to Bellevue Hospital. Station agent, this is Grand Street on the D. Station agent reports unknown male injured on southbound platform, removed to Bellevue Hospital. 179th Street. Station agent reports a customer, I'll leave his name out, fell on the southbound platform, removed to Jamaica Hospital. Grand Concourse, that's the Bronx, that's where I'm from. A station agent reports a customer fell on the stairway, removed to Lincoln Hospital. The reason I'm reading this, and this is like 4 pages long, it shows something. It shows that the station agents do a lot more than selling Metro cards. They'll do a lot more than just giving out directions. And the changes we have planned, that the board has planned for our stations, closing SCA booths, customer service booths. Can you imagine how long this list would be if those stations were open? This is like, I'm not good at flipping papers, but this is 4 pages. This has everything from customers assaulted, robbed, injured on stations, employees injured, suspicious items. That's like bags that bombs could be in, or whatever. Could be anything, newspapers. But it's all about security and levels of customer service that New Yorkers deserve. Open up the booths, bring the clerks back. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew Shotkin, followed by Marty Goodman and Lois Morris.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the MTA Board. My name is Matt Shotkin, and I'm from the borough of Manhattan. With the elimination of the station agents and the token booths, I feel that it's going to harm rather than hurt the MTA money-wise, because of the fact that the token booths are there for people to buy Metro cards, even though people do use live booths or machines if they're actually big lines at the token booth. And frankly, I'd personally like to use a live person behind the a token booth as opposed to a machine in order to refill my reduced fare disability card, because of the fact that a machine is very finicky at times and can malfunction. And I witnessed this myself on Thursday, June the 17th, when I refilled mine. I didn't get a receipt when I pressed it. I want to thank you for your time this morning, MTA Board, and keep up the good work. Thanks again. See you next month.
Thank you, Mr. Shotkin. Next speaker, Marty Goodman. Then Lois Morris, and our last speaker, Patricia Ross.
Marty Goodman, station agent. Ordinarily we have 3 minutes. I don't know why it's limited to 2.
Public hearings are 3 minutes. Board meetings are 2.
My name is Marty Goodman, a station agent. Unless there's a deal, this is the last meeting before the massacre of transit as we know it. The TWU is a union buster's dream. A mostly black, Latino, and immigrant workforce, union proud and cocky. Paid him lazy, rolling in dough. You don't really have to say these layoffs are racist, but every Upper East Side snot-nosed knows that this is exactly what it is. But somehow funding overruns on East Side mega projects are just fine. That's going smoothly enough. You'll be financing it with $6 billion in new bond sales over the next 5 years, keeping riders on Wall Street's meat hook at the fare box. Is this an extortion racket or what? This is your crisis, your economic crisis, not ours. We won't pay. This year, the MTA payout on revenue bonds is about $800 million, tax-free. That's about the size of the original budget deficit. 16 times the $50 million the MTA says it would save by laying off 1,000 workers. The MTA sold hundreds of millions worth of high-return Build America bonds. And months ago, I called for an investigation of the MTA and the prices that it was giving on the returns. Now, a national IRS investigation of BAB sales has begun, and that's good. They should start right here. Merely restoring New York City's old nickel stock trade tax as a dedicated transit fund would solve the MTA's deficit in 3 days. The state's $9 billion deficit in just 2 weeks. You don't want to touch that money. You'd rather lay us off. In reality, this isn't about funding. The rich want to permanently downsize jobs and defund public services, just like the 1970s. Mr. Walder, as an agent to the ruling class here, wants to automate, leaving more money for East Side mega projects and his corporate pals that hype the Oyster card. This is the Democratic Party in power. It's just like Pataki, Bruno, Bloomberg, and Calico. Who are the decision makers laying people off?
Please
the new
conclude your
financial
remarks, Mr.
director
Goodman.
is Mr. Robert Foran, graduated from Bob Jones University.
Thank you, Mr.
An
Goodman.
arch segregationist founded that college, and an anti-Catholic nut as well.
Please conclude.
Foran's politics, I don't know, but he contributed to the Freedom Project in 1998. Today it's promoting the racist, fascistic Tea Party movement.
Mr. Goodman, please conclude. We have to move on.
In the year 2000, he helped restructure MTA finances with a $4 billion bond issue. Here he is again. But he was accused by
Mr. Goodman,
writers
you can
of
say that for the
insider
record.
knowledge when he made that deal, and certainly he was privy to that information. Underwriters made over $100 million on that deal. We're still paying for it.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman.
Hell no to layoffs. hell no to cuts, expand transit, stop bond payments to Wall Street crooks,
Thank you, Mr.
hands
Goodman.
off our raise, money for jobs, not war, unionists unemployed, mobilized to
speaker,
shut the
please.
city down.
Thank you. My next speaker, Lois Morris, then Patricia Ross. We had two people sign up at the door just as hearing registration was closing. Mansoor Chowdhury and George
Subway station agents
Kalfer.
are the front line of defense to the safety of millions of New York subway riders. The subway station agents are there to sell fare cards and help with the countless problems that arise when millions of people use the subway system regularly. The station agents, however, are unspeakably more valuable than the fare card machines, which frequently break down and cannot even change a dollar bill. The subway station agents, however, besides overseeing the fare card transactions, are also guards to the safety of millions of New York transit riders. When the subway tooth booths are manned, the agents are a deterrent to any terrorist or any other armed person or criminal who, because the agent is there, cannot freely and unwitnessed enter the vast New York City subway system and endanger the lives of millions of New Yorkers. A tremendous amount of money is also saved when the subways run efficiently, and they run much more efficiently with the transit clerks than with the machines, which often break down and which of course cannot do many functions which human beings can do. People use the subways to go to work and to conduct personal and other business. When people don't get to work or to their business, a great deal of money is lost, much more than the wages of the subway token agents.
Please
We
summarize your
need the
comments.
agents to protect the safety and to protect the business, the efficient business and functioning of the city. Thank you.
The next speaker is Patricia Ross, and then Mansoor Chowdhury. Sorry. And then George Kalfer is our last speaker.
Good morning. I feel a little bit like David facing Goliath, but I did want to unofficially represent the elder citizens of East Midtown. We moved from our home in the suburbs this year to spend our later years, old age actually, in the city. My husband and I are 70. And one of those reasons was the public transport system. Just a few months into our new life, we feel we are being robbed. My husband has bad knees and cannot walk as he used to. 2nd Avenue to 8th Avenue for the theater half-price tickets booth is a long way, and so is getting home from dinner. In the bad weather, there will be no crosstown bus to take on weekends or at nights. I speak very briefly on behalf of the elder residents of East Midtown who feel basically betrayed and abandoned and face risks of isolation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mansoor Chowdhury, and then George Kalfer.
I'm a station agent and a transit workers union member. It's regarding the station booth closure and job cuts and the implementations of all new machines. When the machine doesn't work, who can answer the commuters who all takes the ride at the peak hours? If the machine takes the money, doesn't give the receipt and the Metro card, we are the only one who answers the public's questions. And when the service is interrupted at any moment, we are the one who answer the people to take an alternative route or stay there for further time. And if the board, MTA board think that the machine can replace all the station booths and the clerk, and let the customer get the better service with the machines. That's what I'm trying to tell you, that machine cannot replace human being. People will leave the station unanswered and get delayed at their work. So let the station booth be open and let the people have their jobs and let the economy run as it is. Don't let the unemployment rate goes higher and it has a subsequent effect. Not only the job cut and service cut, it has a subsequent effect to the city riders. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker today is George Calfer.
Hi, my name is George Calfer, and I'm a high school student. And I'd just like to really briefly just thank the MTA for saving our student MetroCards, and I hope that we're not going to be here next year, because in reality, when you consider that half the students would probably avoid the fare, somehow get on the bus for free, walk to school, whatever, the thing would actually go down to 107 million, I would estimate, which is like half of it. And then once you consider the city and the state putting in money, it would only really be 37 million. And then you would be basically ruining the whole city for only like $37 million. Eventually everybody would, you'd see increased welfare payments, increased crime. It'd eventually affect the city a lot worse than the 37 million that you would really end up saving. So, thank you.
Thank you, and that concludes today's public speaking session.
Thank you, Doug, and thank you to the public speakers. Let me start by welcoming our newest board member, Pat Foy, who's representing Nassau County. Pat is the Deputy County Executive for Economic Development, extremely knowledgeable person within the state of New York, having served in public service for many years. And we welcome him very much to this board and to the voice of Nassau County on the board. Thank you. I'd also like to update the board, if I can, on developments in Albany that have impacted the MTA. Let me start with some very good news, which is that earlier this month, the 2010 to 2014 capital program was approved by the Capital Program Review Board. This is no small statement in this economic time. The Review Board accepted the argument that we should have a 5-year planning framework, even if we don't have the money for the full 5 years right now. And it said we should get on with the first 2 years of our capital program. Those of you, many of you will know, I started my career working on the very first capital program for the MTA. And I could not underscore how important I think the capital program is to all of us. Hats off, I think, very much to Linda Kleinbaum and to all the staffs across all the agencies who worked so hard to make this happen. This has been a marathon effort, and they deserve a lot of credit for making that happen. I think another positive development was the legislation that was enacted to allow the use of cameras to enforce the bus lanes associated with select bus service. This project is a partnership between the city and the MTA, and it represents breaking down the institutional barriers that we've had around bus lanes and allowing us to be able to use technology to be able to do this in a more efficient manner. I'm firmly convinced that with this legislation and the implementation of it, that we will finally be able to say with confidence that bus lanes are for buses and that mean it. And to be able to show that if you do that, and if you do that well, that it will have a very positive impact upon our bus service and potentially expand it to other routes across the city. So I think it's a tremendous accomplishment for us, and again, I think a very important partnership with the city. A third piece of very positive news is the mentoring bill. It's a bill that we've been pursuing, Susan, you can correct me, I don't know, maybe 2 years or so. That bill has now passed through both houses of the legislature. We hope the governor will sign it shortly. This bill is designed to diversify our pool of contractors, in particular to create opportunities for small and minority-owned businesses to be able to do work with the MTA. I would like to recognize Michael Garner, who has worked tirelessly for literally years to be able to do it. As Michael and I have talked about on numerous occasions, now the real fun starts because we have to get it done, and we will. And I think it's great to be able to see it. Finally, as you know, and as the last speaker pointed out, the budget included $25 million for student Metro cards. I think this board had adopted a position that we had hoped that the state and the city would pay the total cost of the Metro card program, the student Metro card program, with the view that this is really a responsibility of others to be able to do it, and we're the service provider in doing it. I think that the issue, however, was something that came up very loud and clear in our public hearings. It came up very loud and clear in meetings that took place across the city. It came up very loud and clear in the meetings that I had with the student leaders, that if we were to change this program, if we were to take away the free student Metro cards, that this is a life-changing event in the city. And I think it would impact on the ability of New York City school students to have the education that they deserve and to have the opportunity to attend the best schools in the city without constraint of the transportation system. In light of those impacts, we've decided to abandon the proposal to charge students to travel to and from school. Now, I say this not with the idea that there's not an outcome of that is a negative outcome. The outcome is that we have a deficit that we will have to face. But I think the alternative, which was charging the school students, is worse. And so further actions will be needed to close the gap. There's certainly a gap there. We should be looking at that in our July financial plan, which is the place that we've set up in our process to be able to do this. And I think that's really the closing point that I would make here. We are imminently moving into a very, very important month in considering that plan. It has to capture all of the activity that has taken place this year, and there's been a lot of activity that has taken place just in the 6 months so far of this year. It has to reflect the work that we've done to reduce our costs and to overhaul the way that we've been doing business, which has been very positive. It has to incorporate the latest estimates of all of our subsidies, and those of you on the Finance Committee heard on Monday that our subsidies remain weak, even below the projections that we had before. It will have to incorporate the results of our ongoing discussions with our labor unions, and it will have to put forth proposals for the fare increase that is scheduled for the beginning of 2011. The result of all that is that, I think we've come out of the Albany process with some things to look forward to in the process, places and ways that we can be able to show positive developments in service, positive developments in moving our capital program forward, positive developments in increasing the diversity of our contracting pool. That's all great. I'm very happy to see it. But we will remain with an incredibly challenging time, and the financial plan will be an enormous discussion for us as we seek to balance what are many competing objectives in an extremely difficult financial time. But that discussion is the one that we move to next month.
Why can't you even apologize to the hundreds of workers that are going to be laid off this month? Why can't you even apologize for that?
Can I have a motion, please, for the minutes of the last meeting?
I move that they be adopted.
Do we have a second? In favor? Thank you very much. We move to the Committee on Finance, please. Mark, I believe you're covering.
There are two action items. The first action item seeks approval of a contract with Swap Financial Group for swap advisory services in connection with managing the existing portfolio of derivative contracts and for execution of new derivatives as more fully described in the board materials. The second action item seeks authorization of actions relating to the payment of the state assessment on the MTA and its constituent agencies for the Public Work Enforcement Fund for calendar year 2010 as more fully described in the board materials. I move all of the action items.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
There are 6 procurements this month. There is one non-competitive procurement in the amount of $30,000. There are 5 competitive procurements in the amount of $12,997,849. There are no ratifications. I move these procurements.
In favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
There are 8 real estate action items this month, which are described in the board materials and handout. I want to bring to the board's attention that the Tri-Tip City real estate action item was withdrawn pending further review, and the surrender of the sublease at 3 World Financial Center was added to the real estate action items. I move these action items.
Second? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
That concludes the Finance Committee report.
Thank you very much. The Committee on Transit, Doreen, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. There is one action item this month. It seeks approval for a 1-year renewal of retainer agreements between the New York City Transit Authority and the attorneys listed in the staff summary included in the board materials this morning for the provision of legal services to the Transit Adjudication Board as per diem senior hearing officers. I move this action item.
Second. In favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
There are 10 procurements this month totaling $27 million. 5 are non-competitive in the amount of $10.5 million, and 2 are competitive in the amount of $6.2 million. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
Do you have a second? In favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
And there are 3 ratification items in the amount of $10.3 million. These are also recommended, and I move them.
Second.
In favor? Do you have a comment, John? I'm sorry. In favor? Aye. Okay. Opposed? Thank you. Was there something you wanted to add?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I noticed on the prior real estate actions there was an item on page 62 that I need to recuse myself from, the MTA Long Island Railroad Con Ed lease agreement.
Okay. Noted for record. Thank you very much.
That concludes the report.
Thank you very much. The report on the Committee on Bus Operations. Nancy?
Yes, there are no action items or procurements this month.
Okay. We'll take that. That may be a new record. The report from the Metro North and Long Island committees. I don't have to ask who's chairing this month, do I?
No, I guess not. There are 4 non-competitive procurements, 3 for the Long Island Railroad and 1 for Metro North, in the amount of $12.4 million. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
And there are 2 competitive procurements, both for MTA Capital Construction, in the amount of $5.2 million. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
And there are no ratifications. This concludes the report.
Okay. The report from the Bridges and Tunnels Committee, please.
Bridges and Tunnels, Mr. Chairman, also met. Bridges and Tunnels, Mr. Chairman, also met this month, and there are no non-competitive procurements or ratifications this month. There are 4 competitive procurements in the total amount of $1.384 million. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
And this concludes Bridges and Tunnels report.
Okay. We have 2 other action items on the board's agenda which are listed as other business. The first is the adoption of the revised federal substance abuse policy, which has been adopted, which has been amended to reflect federal regulatory changes. And the second is a revised whistleblower policy, which has been updated to reflect new provisions of the Public Authorities Law. The former was reviewed and recommended for approval by the Safety and Security Committee. The latter was presented and recommended for approval by the Governance Committee. Can I ask for a vote on that, please?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. That concludes the public business of the meeting. I would like to ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Before you do that, I just wanted to briefly make a comment on your opening statement. Just as you mentioned that at the public hearings it came through loud and clear that the student MetroCard issue was a very important one, and students were adamant in trying to keep those. I also heard the public was pretty adamant in retaining the service that we have now, and that came through really loud and clear for me. That was an overwhelming statement at all of the public hearings, so I just would like to note that for the record.
Thank you. Can I now ask for a motion to go into executive session for the purposes enumerated under the Open Meetings Law, specifically matters which would imperil public safety if disclosed, and matters pertaining to collective bargaining negotiations?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning.
Jay, there's a lot of service cuts coming up this weekend. Thank you. Any concerns about rider confusion, about all the changes, things like that?
I think we've been working, as has been reported over and over again in the press, to put up new signs and to be able to get bus maps and subway maps out there. We're doing everything we can. I mean, some amount of confusion is probably inevitable, Tom, but I think we're working hard to try to minimize it.
Earlier this week, I think it was President of New York City Transit signed in some changes, some scheduling changes affecting bus routes, 38 different bus routes, and also I believe the 7 train. Talk a little bit about how that affects the overall budget, if that was taken into account at all when those recommendations were made.
Well, I think the changes that were put forth are the normal service adjustments that the MTA and New York City Transit make on a regular and routine basis. They're not done for the purposes of budget. They're done for the purposes of trying to align our service and the ridership and capacity so that they're aligned. Over many years, and in fact, indeed, as the system was growing and ridership was growing, that's exactly the same process that we use to increase service. And all I think that's reflecting now is that we've seen some decreases in certain places. There were other places where we did have to add service because of some changes that were taking place. And this is just a normal part of a business that carries 5 million people a day on the subway side and 2.5 million people a day on the bus side.
Jay, you talked earlier about how there are several different issues impacting making the budget up next month. But how much specifically did the change in student Metro cards affect what you have to do next month? I mean, that specifically, did that tip the scale, if you will, toward having to move the fare hike up from January?
Well, 2 questions I think that are in there. So to be clear, the decision that we took on the student Metro cards was taken with the view that the impact of implementing a program to charge for Metro cards was one that would have a significant impact, and I think it was very clear in the public process that people were not supportive of. In doing that, we recognized that we were not getting all of the money to be able to do this program, and that there is a deficit that will have to be covered. We will consider that deficit in the financial plan in July. We'll consider it in conjunction with other changes that have been taking place as well. The overhauling of our business, where we've worked hard to drive costs out of our business. The changes in public support that comes from our taxes, which, as we've already noted at our board meeting, finance committee meeting this week, continue to be weak. As well as whatever our discussions with the labor unions and how that will work. And finally, ultimately, as you say, you get down to fare increases that will be considered in that program as well. We've consistently said and continue to say that the fare increase, which was scheduled for January 2011, this was the schedule that was worked out with the legislature last year as part of the bailout of the MTA, is a schedule that we are seeking to stick with. We have not said we are changing the date of that. We have not said that we're moving that up. I think it is too early to tell you what the size of the fare increase will be. It will be a function of what comes out of the financial plan. I don't have that information yet.
On the subject of the taxes, the Williams Boyd School District in Long Island today is announcing that they're filing a lawsuit against the state and the MTA because they haven't been refunded the money that the state legislature promised on the payroll tax. You have any thoughts on that?
I'm not familiar with the lawsuit. I think everything on the payroll tax has been done legally. I don't know.
Jake.
Mike?
As part of your cost-cutting campaign, you've talked about laying off managers and workers at headquarters as well as those of the rank-and-file employees. Have those layoffs at headquarters occurred?
The actions in regard to headquarters are going forward as scheduled to be taking place. We're following through a very detailed process to be able to do that, respect the public process for doing that.
I thought the deadline for buyouts, though, was a couple of months ago. Have the layoffs been put back or delayed at all?
No, they've not been put back. We've just been working through the process to be able to do that. We had to go through and went through, as you said, the voluntary severance arrangements. We're now working through the rest of the process, and the layoffs are going ahead. We will achieve, without any question, the savings that we had put into our budget from administrative savings, which was a total of $49 million to be achieved in this year, and we will achieve those savings.
Any updates you could give on the security cameras? I believe those were supposed to be in place by June. Have those been?
The security cameras are on schedule to be in place. That's, I think, 970, if my memory strikes me correctly, but something of that number. And there's a second set of security cameras that become operational in the early part of 2011.
The bus cameras, any idea when the MTA and the DOT will start using them?
We're working through the schedule on doing that right now, but we're extremely happy to see the legislation that came through in Albany. I think the idea that we can now finally begin to use bus cameras as one of the tools of enforcement for our bus lanes is critically important. We have a phrase that bus lanes are for buses. I hope now that we can actually mean it and show it. And I think the benefits of being able to speed up bus travel will be apparent to the 2.5 million people a day who use our bus system. If we can show how it works on our SBS routes, Fordham Road in the Bronx, 1st and 2nd Avenue in Manhattan, and the subsequent routes when they come in, I think we'll be able to show people the real benefit of having enforced bus lanes.
Time for two more.
The savings that you hope to achieve, the labor and overtime savings, require concessions from the union. Do you think you'll get to the point where you'll actually achieve those savings by next month in terms of your talks with the union?
Well, the savings that we put forth for this calendar year are savings that we think that we can achieve through the management of the overtime and the tight control of overtime. I think the point that we made there was that overtime is a large cost to the MTA. There are, in fact, many legitimate reasons why we have overtime. If we were sitting here in the winter and it had snowed last week and we cleared the snow away, everybody would look at us and say that was a good thing to do as a use of overtime. But one of the things that we've worked to do with all of our agency presidents right now is to ensure that we have tight controls of the way that overtime is being used, and that's what's generating the savings that we have there.
Just a quick follow-up. I mean, because you've said that the station agents who you're unable to lay off have been costing the agency about $40,000 a day. With the administrative layoffs, the MTA isn't losing money per day because those layoffs haven't been able to go through?
We had not scheduled those layoffs to take place before now.
Thank you.
Thank you.